Folks, it's Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists, and this is going to be a video about multi-tools. Some of my favorite models, the ones that I like the most, my experience with them over the years, some of the things I like and some of the things that I just don't like that much about them. Now you see here, these are basically Leathermans. Here I have a couple of Victorinox over here. Now regarding the multi-tools that are not being shown in this video, I've tried several other models as well, and if I haven't done a video about them or even bother showing them, usually it means that I just didn't like them enough. I'll give you a couple examples. The Leatherman Juice, which is fairly popular, I just don't see the sense in the Leatherman Juice. I think that for pretty much somewhat of the same size, you have much better options. Granted, a little bit smaller, but in all honesty, I'd rather go with the Sidekick, of course the Wave, or let alone the Charge. Are much better, more capable multi-tools for what I at least consider to be a marginal larger size. You know, it's really not that much of a big difference. You still have a chunk of steel there in your pocket with a certain weight, mass to it, volume, and I at least don't see them, at least not with the ones that have enough tools with them, the larger juice models that have enough tools in them. I at least don't see the point in going with those over, for example, a Wave, let alone a Sidekick or a Wingman if it's about cost. So, for example, the Gerber Multi-Tools. One of the first ones I bought was actually a Gerber multi-tool. Gerbers are good. I found that the steel in general was quite bad, very soft steel. So in all honesty, over many years, and this goes way beyond I even started doing YouTube videos, Leatherman has been the one that has been working best for me. And of all the different Leatherman models, I think that the Charge is still the best one, the Lurmen Charge Tti. This one I have here is maybe one of the a little bit of an older model. The newer one has a little bit of a different design here in the sculptured titanium handle, but this is without a doubt the one that does most things. Some folks have suggested the Surge as a very nice capable multi-tool, a little bit bigger. I don't have a problem with a little bit of a larger multi-tool. I looked at some of the tools that it has. Yeah, probably something that I should check out eventually. It really doesn't excite me enough as to go running and buy a Surge. But I guess that with a Surge, you're also somewhat in that same area. You have even a larger blade, which would be a positive thing, no doubt. But for me, this is pretty much the perfect size, the perfect all-around multi-tool. I mean, you have what is that? The Mutt, is it? The Leatherman Mutt never caught with me. I mean, not at all. The Signal would be one of the newer ones. The Signal, and it is specifically promoted as a survival multi-tool. It has that little whistle thing, the fire steel. Again, not really. Specifically, the Signal with those little plastic parts, at least for me, looks cheap, and the tools that I'm getting are not as good as the ones that I have here in the Charge. You know, you're even missing a couple of them. So why give up tools that I like having for what? For a plastic whistle that I already have one in my pocket in my flashlight? Makes, at least for me, makes no sense. So if I'm getting a multi-tool, I want it to be a good multi-tool. I don't want a multi-tool that doubles as a lighter, as a you know, if you could integrate those without compromising on things specifically that have to be found in the multi-tool, then that's, you know, that's viable. That's something that I would be interested in. But compromising on basic components of a multi-tool for mediocre alternative to better options in terms of whistle, lighting, fire starting, I just don't see it. I'd rather have just a good, solid, reliable multi-tool. So these are basically the ones that I feel somewhat comfortable recommending, and this is, after many years, the one without a doubt that I recommend the most, the Charge Tti. Simply, it holds on better, and I'm going to be getting more to it after taking care of these three that I have. These are some of the best-selling multi-tools Leatherman has, the Wingman and the Sidekick, and I completely understand why that is. And remember guys, we're still in a period of an economic reality in our world all over, anywhere, no matter where it is that you are. Money is a thing for a lot of people. It is, and if they have to spend 40 bucks, 80 bucks, or 140 bucks, that will usually come into the equation of buying a multi-tool or not. So these are fairly affordable, actually quite affordable multi-tools from Leatherman that still have key ingredients that have made these two a huge success. First of all, you see that they have a clip. Obvious enough, the clip, at least for me, is a pretty big deal. It allows me to carry my multi-tool in my pants without worrying about having a separate sheath or holster or something so as to carry it with it. I'm not keeping this in my belts. I'm just clipping it to the belt, you know, my jeans or whatever pants I'm wearing, and that's basically it. You have, of course, the pliers. I covered this when I did the proper video, but you see it has a very decent, you know, comparable pliers to the Charge and the Wave. You have your screwdrivers, your knife, so completely understanding why these two are so successful. When I did the video, and if you want to look for specific videos about these two multi-tools, you have the search box over there in my channel. The Sidekick and the Wingman, basically the difference was that the Wingman has scissors. All right. Which some people really like having. I'd rather have the saw, and as you see, it has a little bit of use because every now and then I do find myself using the saw. I like having the scissors as well, but not enough just to sacrifice the saw for it. You know, it depends on what your day looks like, I suppose, if you're using the scissors a lot. But I suppose that if you use scissors a lot, you probably have proper scissors with you. I just find this, the thing is this, guys, the logic that I apply is this: with a good knife like the one that I do have here already in the Sidekick, with a good knife I can somewhat improvise pretty much 99% of the stuff that I'm gonna be needing scissors for. All right, with a good knife I can cut most things that I'm going to be needing scissors for. I cannot improvise in the same way the saw. The saw, when it comes to going through wood, I cannot improvise it nearly as well as I can go the other way around. So of these two, this is the model that I recommend the most. These would be the budget Leatherman models, the Leatherman Multi-Tools. I think that the Sidekick is going for 40 bucks. I think that the Wingman for a little bit less, maybe 35 if I remember correctly, but these are maybe the best bang per buck. Yeah, not so sure anymore. I mean, one of the reasons why I want to do this video is that I've been using the Wingman quite a bit lately, forcefully so, because usually I will have my Charge with me, which I'm perfectly happy with, and it does everything that the Wingman does and then some, but I just wanted to use it and see how it holds on. And the truth of the matter is, it really does not hold nearly as well. It has more wiggle, and I mean, not even 1/10. I said not even 1/100th of the use that the Charge has it, and still displaying play here, play on the pliers as well, and noticeably on the blade as well. Quite a bit of wiggle there, and it's visible. I mean, you can see it yourselves. You can actually hear it rattle quite a bit. I mean, you are, to some extent, you are paying for what you get. You have somewhat of a thinner folded metal here in the construction of the multi-tool itself. Now, surprisingly, I haven't seen that same happen with the Sidekick. The Sidekick, which I have used honestly more than the Wingman, the Sidekick has held on better. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not specific to the Sidekick or a Wingman model. I think there's enough wiggle in all of them, depending on how much luck you have or not. But what is clear for me, to me, is that This is nowhere near the solid construction that you have in the Wave, because this is, you know, a knife that I've used quite a bit, and certainly not the Charge. The Charge is a knife that I've used, you know, when people say good honest use for quite a lot of time, I mean, for years I've used this knife a great deal, and I've used the blade a lot. Recently sharpened it because it lost a little bit of an edge, but solid rock, you know, very solid locking, you know, no wiggle at all. And this is a rather thin liner lock, and I've used this without doing anything stupid. I've used this a lot, and it just holds on very well. Okay, so going back to that, for 40 bucks of these two, I definitely recommend the Sidekick. If 40 bucks is the limit in your budget, I'm no longer going to be saying that this is the best bang per buck, because I think that in that regard, that's the Wave. The Wave is going for like 70-80 bucks when you find it in that price range. But let's say $80. Yes, you can buy two of these, but I can guarantee you that's going to be holding on over the years much better than the cheaper models. If 40 bucks is all you have for a multi-tool, and I understand, you know, each specific case is different, but for 40 bucks you have a lot of multi-tool, but you don't have the kind of long-term quality and durability that you're going to be having with a Wave. The Wave is basically like your Charge. Okay, let's go quickly through the, you know, already getting rid of the wingman, so let's look at what you have with your Sidekick. As we said, you of course have your pliers, which are spring-loaded, which is a very positive thing about them. You have your clip already incorporated, you don't have to buy it separately. Pretty decent size as well, you know, large enough pliers. Actually, the same nut you're going to be able to hold with your Wave, you're going to be holding it with your Sidekick as well. All right, you have on the exterior, you have your locking blade. Steel is average, you know, nothing special about it. Sharpens pretty easily, which it's good. Liner locking. Have your little saw there. You have your 3D Phillips screwdriver, large flat screwdriver, which you would be expecting. And here you have sort of an emergency serrated sheepfoot blade, a ruler, a small flat screwdriver, can opener, bottle opener, and wire stripper. Okay, so a basic set of tools, which is, you know, pretty much enough for what most people would be needing. In your Wave, you have your blade, decent size, competes quite nicely there. The Sidekick, you have your main blade, you have your file, diamond coated. This is an excellent tool that I use all the time in the Charge. You have your saw, a secondary blade, serrated sheepfoot blade. On the inside, you have a pair of scissors, small, but you do have them. Flat screwdriver, very tiny flat screwdriver, and Phillips, this is reversible. You remove it and use either one depending on what you need. This is great for, you know, glasses or some of those small electronics that have very small screws. Again, removable, medium-sized flat screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, which if you have, you can use along with additional tips, additional bits. And your, again, bottle opener, can opener, cap lifter, and wire stripper. But as I was mentioning before, the construction that you have is noticeably better in your wave. And you know, it's simply a matter of taking a closer look. Look at the thickness of the folded metal in both of these. You know, this is quite thin. This is pretty thick in comparison, and that translates into greater durability. All right. Clearly a more durable tool. If you're going to be using it maybe every once in a while, then this makes sense. If it's, you know, maybe that's what it comes down to, guys. If you're looking for a cheap multi-tool, maybe not cheap is the word because it's still quality, but something that's not overly expensive, you're going to be keeping it maybe in a bag as a secondary multi-tool, which is honestly some of the things that I end up doing with these as a secondary multi-tool, not to be used a whole lot. Then this probably makes a little bit more sense. If you're going to be using it a lot, then the best bang per buck is going for at least something like the Wave. The Wave is honestly a kind of multi-tool that you're going to be using it over the years and it's still going to be lasting. And here I'd like to mention these two as well, your Victorinox knives, because these are at the end of the day multi-tools as well. The quality of these is also superior to what you have with the cheaper Leathermans. This is one that I've been using quite some time, the surplus German army knife, and the Soldier, which is the one that replaced this model. Very tough, very durable folding knife and multi-tool in general. You have a very large saw there, which comes in handy if you have to cut some, even a little bit of a medium-sized piece of wood. And the blade in this thing is fantastic. The locking mechanism is great. Has a little bit of a wiggle there, but certainly not something that's going to be getting worse as time goes by. Right, so these are actually excellent options. If the thing would be this: if you are more of in a need of a multi-tool, but focusing mostly on the blade, this is actually a great option, because at the end of the day, you still have your saw. You still have an excellent flat screwdriver, cap lifter, wire stripper. Even for prying, it is promoted as something like that. It locks as well, has a locking mechanism. One of the best can openers in the market. Your flat screwdriver there as well. Small flat screwdriver there as well. Large Phillips and punch or owl, which is great for punching holes into different materials. So if you're focusing more on the needs of a blade, great. Bad that it's not having a clip. A clip would make this a big winner, but it can be added. It would be nice to have it already, but you can include it yourself. If you are in need more of, if you see yourself needing more of the pliers and the knife, then this is the option that I would go for. Because of course you don't have any kind of pliers at all here. Between these two, if I was forced to choose just one, maybe the Sidekick. Because why? Because at the end of the day, I still have a knife that is nowhere near as good as this one. That's absolutely clear. Nowhere near as good and nowhere near as tough as the one in the Soldier. No doubt about that. But I do have one knife. If I'm careful enough with it, it's gonna be getting me through it. But I do have the pliers, which I'm missing completely in the Soldier. But and finally we get at the end of the day to the one that, which one should I buy? Well, if you have the 140 bucks or I don't know 150 bucks that it costs to get yourself the Lurmen Charge, this is the one that I would go for. The Lurmen Charge is the one. Multiple reasons. First, rock solid construction. I've used the pliers for as much as it's capable of. I've used it even then a little bit more for light hammering with the flat of the pliers like this all the time, so many times that I don't even remember anymore. But things that maybe you're not supposed to be doing with your pliers, using it as a hammer, still holding on, no wiggle whatsoever. Cannot say the same thing about the Wingman though. The Wingman and the pliers, wiggling. Not here, at least nothing visible. So pliers, general construction, fantastic. The sculptured titanium handles are indeed sculptured. They feel a lot more comfortable. Whenever I have to do something a little bit more than just a couple of seconds of use, I remove the clip, and this gives me very comfortable handles to use. Very comfortable. All right. In terms of blade, I have a decent size, rock solid locking liner lock, and an S30V blade. The quality of the blade is indeed better than any of these other ones that we were showing before. And this translates into the following. Once I sharpen this blade, I know that I have a sharp blade for a considerable amount of time. I'm using this knife. This is probably the knife that I use the most. You know, the folders that I have, probably I keep sharp for other reasons, but this is the one that I end up using the most. For punching holes into stuff, for cutting, for opening, you know, boxes and such. I just clean the blade, resharpening it as needed, and this is it. This is the one that honestly gets the most use. Being S30V, that means that, you know, it's going to be lasting quite a bit of time, more so than my little Victorinox here German Army knife. This one, as you see, I mean, you can see it yourselves quite clearly, it has got a good amount of wear. I mean, this blade has been used up quite a bit. It's somewhat of a limited amount of time. I haven't been doing anything out of the ordinary, just, you know, normal stuff. You know, a little bit of hiking here and there, mostly house stuff, ordinary everyday stuff. But as you do that, especially with a little bit of a softer steel, needs to be resharpened again. So if you're doing that, eventually your blade starts getting a little bit thinner. Okay, this is gonna be lasting much more in a blade like this. In the S30V steel blade, not nearly as much. It holds on a little bit, you know, noticeably better. I don't know if it's a huge difference, but the difference is still there. Let's go. You know, the saw, the file, a diamond coated file. I've used this for so much stuff. Can't even remember. For sharpening other tools, maybe the most often use that I have for this file is. It's just that sharpening other tools on the go, maybe an axe or a machete that I needed to sharpen. This is what I've used, and it does very, very well. The other side, the saw, just great. You know, the saw, whenever I need anything needs to be cut, I don't even bother going for my actual tools, the bigger ones. This saw for a small piece of wood does great. I try not to really abuse the saw, especially because, of course, sharpening this saw is pretty much impossible. But if I have to use it, I don't worry too much about it. Try not to do it all the time because I want to keep this saw for real emergencies, but it is quite capable of handling those smaller tasks. The serrated blade and belt cutting hook, yeah, maybe I use especially this flat part whenever I want to make more of a detailed cut that wouldn't do as well with the tip of the other blade. Maybe that's the thing that I use the most in this specific blade. I try to keep it sharp because I see it more of an emergency use blade. So I try to keep it sharp. Maybe use this tip here a little bit more, but try to keep it sharp. Again, and also it's of course a little bit harder to sharpen than the straight edge blade. All right, so we have the two blades there. Saw, pliers, the use that you can imagine, scissors. Again, not a big scissors type of guy. I feel that for most things the blade just does good enough, but there are moments, there are times when you do need the detailed cutting of a small pair of scissors like this. And I can remember actually quite well one time think it was last year, that my son, we were in a trail, and my son fell, and he hurt his hand pretty bad with a tree, and a pretty big flap of skin was loose, came off, and it was like a flap of skin, like a little window that opened and closed. And yeah, it was bleeding pretty bad. It needed to be cleaned up because it was all dirty, full of dirt. So I used these scissors to cut that skin that was there. There was really no chance of it being attached and such, so I cut it off. And for those kind of things, there's no replacement for the scissors. Those specific little detailed jobs, scissors really come in very, very handy. So this gets used, maybe not a whole lot, but whenever I need it, which has already happened before and I see it happening again, it's nice to have them. Larger flat screwdriver. This is a tool that whenever something needs to be pried and you're going to be risking breaking one tool, probably this is the one that gets used the most. So a large flat screwdriver, pretty self-explanatory. Your small screwdriver, especially for lenses and glasses and such, flats and Phillips on the other side. This is one of those little things that Leatherman really got right, because it happens very often. And these days, I guess, folks, more than ever, especially with so many electronic gadgets, you have lots of little screws that need to be, you need a tool for that. But if you have it, that's great. On the other side, a can opener, cap lifter, and wire stripper. Maybe, the thing that I've used the least, I don't know why, but I haven't been using this a whole lot, at least not lately. I know that I have used it in the past to open cans before, but lately not a lot of use. This I used just moments ago. And you know what, not even this specific one. I exchanged this bit here for an Allen one from this kit, so as to fix a window. So having this available allowed me to fix a window without even having to go to the toolbox. Okay, so yeah, I think that this is, if you're going to be getting into this, it's a worthy purchase to buy the extra bits kit, because many times it does come in handy. So yeah, this is used quite a bit. The Phillips screwdriver, this flat screwdriver, these two you end up using a whole lot. It's a good size, and it was a good calculation by Leatherman to use this specific one, because it seems to be that in general it's the one that fits the most common screws that you're likely to come across. So basically, folks, that's it. These are my recommendations. I think that without a doubt, Lurmen Charge still king of the hill in terms of multi-tools. Yes, in spite of this signal, which I cannot even get myself to buy, just to tell you guys that it's not as good as the Lurmen Charge. I already know that, so I don't see a point of making a specific video showing something that I already know it's not good enough. Or at least not as good as this multi-tool here. The only one that I maybe go for eventually is a Surge, being that it's a bit of a larger multi-tool, and I kind of like the idea of a bigger blade and bigger pliers. But for the size, man, you really cannot beat this one. The Charge really wins the contest. If you're not looking at spending 140 bucks, for 80, 70 bucks, the Wave. No doubt there. And if you're really in a tight budget, maybe the Sidekick. But again, after using, and as time goes by and as more use gets put into it, you really see the construction difference. You really see why you're paying 40 bucks and not 80 bucks. You see why this one costs twice as much. It's maybe twice as much as durable, and then some, which is kind of a big thing if you want a tool that you're going to be using often, especially for an everyday use tool, something that's going to be with you all the time. No doubt about that. Go over with a Wave instead of the cheaper one. Guys, that's basically it. Remember to subscribe, share the video, thumbs up is always appreciated. Take care. See you on our next video. Have a great day.